lovely way to begin the morning. Ah, just everybody take a deep breath and go, ah. Thank you so much, Cheryl and Carol. It was truly delightful. Cheryl let me know earlier she has an engagement soon to begin, so she will not be with us the rest of the morning, but we so appreciate her joining us this morning. Well, good morning. My name is Sue Ann Lang, and I'm not standing on the stool today because even though I have flat shoes on, I thought that might be a little iffy. So here I am. I'll try to stand this way. We are so delighted to have you all here today, and especially our guest speaker, Mark Sanderson, and his wife, Susan Randall, who have been long-term members here, and then they got a call from their daughter who said, "Hey, Mom and Dad, how'd you like to move to Ann Arbor?" So the siren call of grandchildren and family drew them from us to Ann Arbor, but we're delighted to have them back here today, and I'll say a little bit more about that. So the other announcement that maybe is a little ahead of time but needs to be said is our individuals who have been so wonderful to provide child care for us during this summer had an emergency come up, and so they are not here today, which means you who have children all today, all morning. However, I do want to let you know we have special bags straight back to an open door that you can get for your children, or raise a hand and we'll have one brought to you for your child or children. So that being ahead of time, well, welcome. Again, my name is Sue Ann Lang, and I am your worship coordinator today. In this congregation of All Souls UU Church, our mission is to practice love, celebrate life, and in my thought, find and give compassion wherever it may be and wherever we see it, to be compassionate. So whether you are joining us for the first time as Susan, thank you Susan for helping me with the door, or others, we are so glad that you are here today. So whatever beliefs you hold, whomever you love, whomever loves you, know that you are truly welcome here. Thank you. I do have a couple of announcements. One, thank you, Eric. We have had this green folder, binder, clipboard, thank you, Mark, has been with us for many, many years. And on that, or in that, is our sign up for the banquet. We are serving the banquet June 27th. All the information is there, and we have one person that has signed up. Thank you, Liz. Oh, wait. Okay, technology. I am so sorry. Good grief, my Aunt Hannah. Okay, I'm going to move it down a little bit, and I will get rid of my outdoor voice. So for all those of you who are streaming our service, I apologize. Me and technology, I don't know. What are you going to say? Anyway, Eric has an announcement too, so be sure and sign up on your way out. We still need 3 people to help prepare the food, and we'll need 9 more people to help serve.
Okay. For those that missed the annual meeting last week, there are packets of information just before you hit the door out of the sanctuary.
Okay, any other real pertinent announcements that we need to make at this time that I don't have? All right, seeing now, because I was neglectful and didn't get anybody to light the chalice, I will do that. One moment. Okay, here we go. Oh, Alan, oh, thank you. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So he will light it for us as soon as I finish reading. This is from Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.
Off to a good start. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful music. Thank you so very much. At this time, I would like to invite you to stand if you desire and join me in the singing of the first song. It's Come, Come, Whoever You Are, number 188. Carol, can you play it through first for us? And we're going to do it 3 times. Okay? Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you. Our first reading today is going to be from Wendell Berry. It's called The Larger Circle. It's number 646, and it'll be in the back of your gray hymnal. I'll give you a moment. I'll read the bold. If you will please respond with the italicized. The larger circle. We clasp the hands of those that go before us.
And the hands of those who come after us.
We enter the little circle of each other's arms.
And the larger circle of others whose hands are joined in hands.
And the larger circle of all creatures. To a music so subtle and vast that no ears hear it. Thank you. I have a story today for any of those who would like to come up and listen. Or you can listen from back there too. You won't get to see the pictures very well. Just giving you a heads up here. Oh, Mark, you make me embarrassed. I can't even get up. I can get down, but it's ugly. Well, good morning. I'm glad you're here. Our story today is called Maui Maui. And you're bringing books too? Cool. Come on up. Mom's coming too. It's all right. All right. Everybody ready? It's called Maui Maui. This is an old story, and I read it to my daughters. They're all adult women now. So we have one more. And this story has several different people in it, and are different critters. And I want you to see if you can figure out who they are. Okay? On a beautiful, calm Pacific day, the quiet was suddenly broken as the breaching of a great gray whale. Soon, the whole ocean began to move as a whole pod of gray whales began to surface and play and enjoy the sunshine. Suddenly, their day was interrupted by a group of boats with chittering and chattering and screaming and yelling. They immediately dove to the bottom. This loud, unpleasant noise was coming from anemones. These critters were small, furry, and had paws instead of hands, and they were busy throwing their nets into the water. They fished, and they fished, and they caught big fish, and they caught little fish, and they even caught an octopus. Once, they even caught one of their own people, critters who fell into the water. They just threw him in with the rest of the fish. They didn't carry. Poor anemone. Can you see him sitting right down there?
Doggies.
Poor critter. For hours and hours, even when they had caught more than they could eat that day, or the next day, or even the rest of the week, they kept fishing until their boat could hardly move. When they got home, everybody helped unload their boat, and then the mom anemone, the queen anemone, she fixed fish every way you can possibly imagine. She fried the fish. She boiled the fish. She made fish fricassee. She even, I know, me too, and she even made fish pudding for dessert. She cooked all the fish they had caught. She cooked more than they could possibly eat. There you go. She could have made fish sticks. She didn't make fish sticks, according to the story, but she could have. She made fish stew. One day, when the anemones went out to catch their fish, they threw in their nets, and nothing came up. They threw them in again. They found a different place. They came up empty. They said, well, we'll just sail back home. Well, they got home, and the queen anemone was furious. You lazy bums, why didn't you catch any fish for our supper tonight? And they said, well, there weren't any fish to catch. Well, they were sent back out. And this time, when they threw in their nets, a great gray whale jumped out of the water, and he landed on top of their nets. He was so heavy they couldn't pull it in. They finally cut their nets free and said, we have a different way. So they got their fishing poles, and they baited their poles, and they threw them in the water. And up came the great gray whale, and he snatched all the poles out of their hands. Well, now they were really disgusted, and they said, well, we're just going to go home. How do you think the queen anemone felt when they got home? Not good. She yelled, and she screamed, and she stomped her feet, and she said, why didn't you bring any fish home for us to eat? Well, they said, this great gray whale came up, and he stole our nets and took our fishing poles. She said, well, I'll go out tomorrow, and I'll have a little talk with that whale. And she did. And she tried fishing because she thought maybe they were just being lazy and there was no great gray whale. So finally she threw out her net, and immediately up came the great gray whale. His name is Maui Maui. And he landed on her net, and he pulled it away from her, and it went to the bottom. She got very angry, and she yelled at him, and she screamed at him, and she stomped her foot. Well, why did you do that? We're not hurting you. Exactly, she stomped her feet. On a boat may not be a good idea. And he stopped for a minute. He said, "Oh, but you are hurting us. You have taken so many fish that there are none left for me to eat or for my friends to eat or my family to eat. We are starving." She said, "Show me there are no more fish." She's not a believer, is she? So, she latched on to his fin with her paw, and he swam deeper and deeper and deeper, and they searched every nook and every cranny everywhere in the ocean. They didn't even see an octopus in the ocean. So he took her back up. After the Maui had helped the queen back onto her boat, she demanded from him, "Where are all the fish? Where have they gone?" Well, once again, Maui got very quiet. And thoughtfully he said, "Well, you have taken so many fish from the ocean, fish you didn't need, fish you couldn't use, big fish, little fish, that there are no more fish left. Well, we're going to starve to death." Well, without fish, they might. Well, what are we to do? Maui said, "I will take you home and I will teach you how to return the fish to the ocean." So there's all the pods of the whale and our anemones. Maui not only taught them what to fish for, but when to fish. What kind of fish? He said, "Never take the little ones, just the big ones." He taught them what fish to catch in certain times of the year. Most of all, Maui taught them to love and respect the sea as farmers love their land and take care of their animals. They all began to work together to make the ocean a finer place to live. Now, the only time they got worried was when they saw boats in the distance filled with smooth-skinned creatures called man. So, when you are out fishing in the Big Sioux River or lakes or maybe even the ocean someday, remember the story of Maui and the lesson he taught the anemones. Well, normally we would sing our children out now, but they are going to be sitting with their parents or grandparents today. But we can sing them back to their chairs. Thank you. The next part of our service, technology. The next part of our service is a part that we call the sharing stone. You take the stone, and these have some are smooth, some are rough, and you hold it in your hand and you warm it. And maybe you'd like to say something that has been a part of your week this week, something maybe that weighs heavily, or something that has brought you great joy. So first, I get to go since I'm up here, is I would like to remember all the dads that are here, the dads that we remember. Maybe we knew them, maybe we didn't. But everybody has a dad. And they're part of our lives whether we know it or not. So this is for all the dads.
Well, wouldn't you know it, I'm a dad. And it's something I never expected in my life, so it's kind of a miracle. And my daughter, I got to go and see her hooding, as I told you, and now she's going to be a professor next year. In September, actually, that's the academic year. Professor of Japanese. But you know, she gave me, for Father's Day, because I like decaf coffee, a two-fisted mug. And it has the potter and the date on the bottom and the number on a card, the number of the pot, which is a two-fisted mug. And it made me feel very happy.
Thank you. My name is Alan, and I have 3 stones this morning. First one for Carol, who challenged me to work on that piece by Debussy. It wasn't my favorite, and it's always good to be stretched. So thank you, Carol, for that. The second one is for Mark, who I first met when I moved to Sioux Falls and was part of the Pettigrew Heights neighborhood. And so that's where I met Mark, who was very active in that neighborhood association. And he's the first one that invited me to All Souls. And the rest is history. So I'm very grateful for that. And rumor has it that Mark is going to be at Monk's on Wednesday, in case anybody wants to. And that's, by the way, all genders welcome at Monk's on Wednesday. And for Mark's wife, Susan, who I don't know as well, but appreciate and respect her as well. And she gave me a hot tip about a grant application the other day, so I'm grateful to Susan for that.
Hi, I'm Steve. I have a few things. First is a joy. Some of you know my brother-in-law hit an elk with his motorcycle almost 3 months ago. He got discharged from the rehab unit and went home yesterday. And then I have 3 stones. As you guys probably know, there was a triple murder here in Sioux Falls. The woman who was murdered, my wife and sister-in-law have known since she was a kid. Yeah, it's all just for her family and especially her 2 kids. And then 2 stones for her 2 male friends who died as heroes trying to save her life. So.
Hi, my name is Gina, and I snuck up on you. I have a stone because my sister is here visiting, but she came for a purpose. She had her cataracts out. However, the right eye is doing well, but the left eye, something that everybody should be taught from kids, do not rub your eyes. And she has not very good vision out of that, so we'll go back. But delightful to have her here with me. Thank you.
Edie? You want me to hold it while you get a stone? Got it?
I'm Edie Ann Hafke, and I'm thankful that my dad raised me the way he did, and I'm grateful that that he was able to be a dad when he could and all that good stuff, and was able to raise everybody back at home, and so he's up there now, and I like to thank all the dads that are out there who are helping us out and being able to raise our children and all that good stuff. And I like to think about all the people that who are dads and all that, and back at my place and elsewhere and stuff. And I'm thankful that I have Jenny here, who more or less appreciated her dad in her own way, and all that good stuff. So, and I just want to tell y'all, I discovered I'm missing one of my earrings, and I don't know where it went to. So.
Oh.
Good morning. I'm Susan Randall. I'm Mark's wife, and some of you know me, but others not. So we joined this congregation 46 years ago and left it 6 years ago. And I must say, over those 46 years, there were times when we wondered if it would survive. It wasn't always easy going. And so this stone is for what inspires me so much today, that you're all here, that this congregation is thriving, that you've invested in refurbishing the bathroom. It's been repainted. I notice you have a plaque now that explains Jerry Fogg's beautiful and historically interpreted centering visual in this sanctuary. And there's all these like little signs of vitality. Thank you for the amazing music. It's really wonderful to be here. It feels like coming home, and it does stir my own sense of spiritual centeredness. So thank you.
There you go.
I took my girlfriend to get her wisdom teeth out a few days ago, and she's recovering from that surgery. So it's kind of a joy and a concern. She's, recovering from surgery, which isn't good, but she's been resting a lot, so.
This final stone, I will put in our chalice of water and lift up all those joys, all those concerns that maybe we each still hold within us. But know they're a part of this group. And because you are here, hopefully your lightheartedness or your burdens will be even intensified, and maybe in the concern lessened a bit. Let's take a moment to reflect on those words spoken. I'd invite you to come back. Our next selection to sing together is number 298. I'd invite you to stand if you wish and sing Wake Now My Senses, 298. Carol will play it through once. We're going to sing all 5 verses. Ah, lovely. Thank you. Our second reading is number 505 in the back of your gray songbook. It's by Thich Nhat Hanh, a philosopher from many long years ago. I'll read the bold if you will follow with the italicized. It's 505.
No italicized.
Oh, well then heck, you know what? We're going to all read it together. There you go. Unison is often better. Thank you. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being common to us all and to all living things, evoking the presence of the great compassion. Let us fill our hearts with our own compassion toward ourselves and toward all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. May it be so. Well, at this time, it is indeed my great pleasure to introduce Mark Sanderson. Mark and Susan and I go back a long, long ways. Our daughters now are, that went to school together and went to preschool together and daycare together, are 40? Yeah, amazing. And bless Mark, because he would actually take both of these very two energetic and creative toddlers and delight them both for the whole afternoon. Robin, my daughter, still remembers the fun times she had it with you, Mark, at your house. And just a little further, Mark graduated from Augustana College. He has a Master in Divinity from Union Seminary in New York. He and Susan were bedrock of this congregation when there was no RE, religious education. He and Mark started one for their children, and it has since grown and grown, and so bless them for having that insight and vision. Both were integral parts in the Sioux Falls community for many, many years. Susan started a nonprofit that grew from one person to many and met the needs of many young people. Mark worked tirelessly at the prison and had many, many things that go quietly unsaid that he was a part of. So it is indeed with great privilege and great honor that I welcome Mark Sanderson.
It's wonderful to see the sanctuary here, and I will call it a sanctuary. I mean, I didn't count the number of warriors in Jerry Fogg's art piece, but I think they're 38.
Yes.
Yeah. Mankato. So good morning to all of you. Friends, yes, I say friends. Because even if I've never met you, and since this time and space wherein we're gathered is for me sacred space, and people within the confines of these walls are friends. It's here where I continued my growing and maturing into adulthood, along with the same human timeline that we all share as Homo sapiens, a personal and spiritual journey from that personal weaving through primary and secondary socialization, through adolescence and courtship and marriage and children. Yeah, children. Susan and I, both native to the Sioux Empire, moved back to Sioux Falls from Boston for personal and educational opportunities. We had our first child, whose name is Randall, in 1979. We mused mutually then, where and how do we want to raise up our child? Our growing up experiences in the churches in the communities that we lived in, both Lutheran, mind you, and we both are recovering Lutherans at this point. They were very important gestation points for us to develop ourselves. And they helped us move through our own childhood and adolescence and first marriages. But now, we had a child, and we wanted that child to have a church home. The nurturing wraparound experience we had as children, something like that. Well, we reached out to the All Souls Fellowship, still a lay-led group of religious liberals, for support. And over time, we settled in and made All Souls our church home. Susan and I spoke from your pulpit on October 3rd, 2021. I'm on my own this morning, but she's here. The time embracing our remarks was then connecting to each other and ourselves. That seems like a long time ago, given what's occurred in our life and the world since then. The worldwide spread of the coronavirus, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Israeli-Hamas war, worldwide climate events that seem now more convincingly aided by human-precipitated global warming, and a political divide in our country which challenges the very foundation of domestic institutions. All of this hubbub, this is my mom's term for turmoil, challenges me to personally act as best I can to mitigate the turmoil and foster hope and healing in a very fractured world. I'm older now, just 3 or 4 years older since I last spoke here. My thinking has sifted through voluminous data funneled into my brain over decades. I'm embracing what's really important for my survival and my contribution in connection to myself and the concentric circles of life that surround me. And I know I need to dig deeper. I want to hook on to what I said 4 years ago because it's important to me now. I've said I'm a recovering Lutheran. Thus, I hearken back to my early socialization in the teaching of the Christian Bible. In the New Testament, the books of Matthew and Mark, we are presented with the scene wherein the Pharisees, that was a Jewish sect, who approached Jesus. They heard that Jesus had been verbally outmaneuvered by the Sadducees, another Jewish sect that monitored the strict observance of the law. The Pharisees, their intent was to trick Jesus into some kind of illogical or heretical statement. What's the greatest commandment of the law, Master? And Jesus responds, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and your mind and soul. And this is the key, and your neighbor as yourself. Well, the next question was, well, who's my neighbor? And Jesus responds with the parable of the Good Samaritan. A person fell among thieves, left for dead. People who ought to help passed him by. A Samaritan, a culture different than a Jewish culture, a person who should have felt some compunction to respond to this stranger lying on the road, stopped to help this person in need. The Samaritan felt merciful towards this stranger, discovering he was alive. He hauled him on his donkey to the nearest inn, paid for his stay there, left money for his upkeep, and later returned to check up on him. The question Jesus asks of those challenging him was, now, who do you think was the good neighbor to the man who fell amongst the thieves? I ask myself that daily. How can I hone in on myself and my behavior to be the best good Samaritan I possibly can be? Let me share with you a formula that I cobbled together, my thoughts and musings about this, and provide some structure to my daily life and to my meditation time. I realize I've done this to help me as I've grown older right now, and I can say more about that in a bit. So I have a formula. It is C4 in the presence of R1H1. This is a catalyst. Equals my personal guide to living and loving in a limited world. I know that's a lot. The 4 C's are courage, compassion, caring, and curiosity. And the catalyst factors, R1 is resilience, and H1 is humility. So I found that it takes personal courage to dig deep within my own consciousness, to embrace all the shoulds and coulds of growing up, dumb behavior resulting from just growing up in a limited world. How do I harness this strong work ethic that I internalized? You know, you probably had experiences like this. Sitting in the home, my mom would say, Markadale, get your tail out there and don't just stand there, but do something. Those are messages still deep within me. Well, for the last 17 years or so, I've been working hard. I've got a good work ethic. Using that work ethic to change my situation around, to not just do something, but to stand there. This is my life journey, growing up and maturing, learning how to sit and not just do something in order to be productive enough to live my life. Sitting back. Now, Romy Klesson, I don't think I've seen Romy here this morning, whom some of you may know, wrote an antiphonal verse for All Souls children to recite the beginning of their lesson. It begins, "We are always growing and changing. We are learning to love ourselves and each other." That's the key. To elicit the courage to love ourselves and others. This is the commandment of love. And to do that in spite of our limitedness. So I start my equation with compassion. I think we all did the Thich Nhat Hanh verse together. I had the wrong number down for that. But the reason I chose that is because the description of compassion that I had in mind when in my formula is the kind of compassion that Thich Nhat Hanh describes. It's the realization that I'm related to all living beings, animal, vegetable, mineral. The Lakota end their prayers with the phrase mitakuye-yasin, an affirmation of that compassionate connection with all of our relatives. This commitment to feel and think through this connection and to live out my life in ways that reflect this compassion requires a caring behavioral response. So in my mind, I have compassion - caring because it's the manifestation of compassion that I am able to care to every stranger or friend I meet. It's not always easy, but it's crucial to be a good neighbor. Many times I fail, because I'm definitely human. But I still keep trying, and we'll talk about more on resilience later. So compassion and caring are linked. In my mind, it's compassion dash caring. A view of the world I live in which I manifest my way as best I can as I put myself in the world that's around me. And then on to curiosity. The ancient Greeks affirmed that you cannot step into the same creek twice because it keeps moving, just like time. It's our life journey. The Christian theologian Augustine mused metaphorically how our lives are like floating in a life stream. We want to stop the flow, so we habitually reach out, attempting to grasp some plant or object to stop the flow of time. But it's not possible. Again, we are always growing and changing. The curious spirit is the only antidote to the natural inclination to stay safe and comfortable. Wasn't it Sigmund Freud who mused on this, saying that we all want to crawl back into the womb and suck our thumb and be fed, nice and cozy? But that's not the real world into which we are born. Not only that, it gives me claustrophobic feelings when I envision this kind of thing. It's not something that I affirm. My granddaughter Basil, 6 years old, is the epitome of curiosity. Picking up nature objects, opening the fridge to see what's in there, turning handles and light dimmer switches. Sometimes it's frustrating, and for me, not knowing when to gently cradle these potential chaos in a soft voice, I say, don't do that. She thinks she's going to be a scientist, so she is definitely on the path to her chosen vocation. That's curiosity. And then my formula takes on a little twist. All of the previous behavioral traits that I affirmed are not capable unless cocooned in a binding mesh of resilience and humility. These are necessary catalysts that allow the process to continue, much like the chlorophyll in the photosynthetic process, whereby green plants, chlorophyll, use sunlight to synthesize food in the forms of sugar from carbon dioxide and water and sunlight in the presence of chlorophyll with oxygen as a byproduct. The catalysts in my life formula are resilience and humility. Resilience is the ability to maintain agency, willpower, in the midst of a fraught and limited world. The ability to pull myself up by my knickers and do what needs to be done. And humility is the ability to be and to stay connected on the circumference of the circle of life, with checks on power and prestige. Knowing the struggle, the lure of power and prestige that I witness with so many of our current politicians is a temptation I could be sucked into if not mindful of my behavioral formula, especially being needful of resilience and humility. In late May, our family pod, that is our daughter Alice, some of you may know, her husband Michael, our grandchildren Juniper and Basil, and of course Susan, spent a couple of days camping at a Michigan State campsite. Tent sleeping, mind you. I think getting up in a tent and getting to the pee bucket was a real struggle. Anyway, it maybe gave us a sign that maybe we're getting a little old for this. But breathing deeply at 6:45 a.m., I got up earlier before everybody was up. I had the following thoughts, which I chronicled later that day and wrote. And so I'm going to quote what I wrote down as best I recorded it a few hours later. So this is my remembrance of that early morning, 6:45 a.m. I sat on a picnic table bench facing east, the rising sun shadowed from direct exposure on me by a shagbark hickory. I was quietly singing my version of the Four Directions song, not wanting to wake Susan. I always start with the west, but my thoughts and my mental direction turned to the north. Wazia Takia. The image of the buffalo I use, it's Tatanka. It triggers my thoughts because I imagine the courage of the buffalo as the strong but nurturing animal he is. This thought, the first element of my formula, helps center me. I hear other voices of courage. The bullfrog loudly croaking, the red-winged blackbird, and the mourning dove singing, and chipmunks scurrying around to find their daily sustenance. In this setting, I remain mentally framing my thoughts with a mix of faith and hope to manifest my comings and goings on this day, May 24, 2024. To approximate some semblance of holistic living with all my relatives. Now it's time to brew my morning coffee, my black medicine. Unquote. So, my formula for guiding my life journey was the 4 C's: courage, compassion, caring, and curiosity, enmeshed in resilience and humility, guiding my way. Before I move on any further, I want to share some personal sharings with you. I talked with Reverend Allen last evening about this, and I wanted to share it with you. 2 years ago, I had some minor minimal strokes. They're called little strokes where you can't quite move and you are not sure where you're at, and they go away. And after my second one, I called my daughter and said, "You better get into the emergency ward," and that's what I did. I went in, and it was a difficult operation to clean out my carotid artery to my brain. So I've survived that. It could have been life or death at that point, but I survived that, and I seem to be doing well. That was 2 years ago, and I really did well. I noticed that when I read, I had to take notes, although, and review those notes a bit. But it's only been in the last 6 months or so that I have began to sense the results of that situation. And with my own behavior and my wife monitoring me and our own sense of what things are, I think I have what is called vascular dementia. It's not Alzheimer's, it's a different kind, and it's precipitated by a lot of things. It has to do with lifestyle. I mean, I was a football player, both in college and high school, and I loved to beat heads, and I didn't have a good helmet. So, experiences like that. I also had as a principle that I wanted to die without being on any meds. So, and not taking into consideration the other medical things I could have done to alleviate some of the plaque buildup in my brain. So all of these and other certain factors contributed to this kind of dementia that I have. And I need to be very honest with you. That's something that's very scary for me because I know that there is a loss in my life because I'm not the linear thinker that I used to be, and I need to be honest with you all about that too. I recognize faces and I recognize people, but I'm slow on a lot of things, and I know that one of the things that is really important to me is that binds me together. Of course, I have my wife, which is really a godsend for me, and you know, she understands where I'm at, and that's been very helpful for me. So I want to just share that with you because it's something that I know that I'm struggling with, and it's a certain kind of memory thing that I know a lot of people, when they grow older, have difficulty with memory things, but I think what I have, because of my situation, what I am experiencing is beyond the normal aging process. So I say that to you with a good heart, and thank you for listening. So I haven't done my salutation yet. So, as I close now, may we know that we are not isolated beings, but persons connected by mystery and miracles and the discovery of science to ourselves and to each other, and yes, even to the universe. So I say, Amen. May it be so. I was going to say something else, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. It was the Lutheran benediction. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Go in peace. Amen. So be it.
What a gift. What a blessing. Thank you, Mark. At this time, we have the opportunity to give back. We each have been blessed with so many things, and this is our opportunity to give back to our congregation. So I would invite you to be generous at this time. Thank you, Carol. At this time, I'd like to invite you to join me with reading the words that we use to receive our offering. They're in your bulletin. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, and welcoming the stranger, loving one another. There is something we call the power of the pulpit, and I'm going to extend it right now and just go right to our closing and extinguish our chalice. Before I do that, we will come back, say, 20 minutes, 15. Bring your coffee and join us in our discussion that allows each of us to interact with Mark and maybe Susan too? Yes, okay. Very good. So, at this time, let us read together the words we used as we extinguish our chalice. The chalice is extinguished, but the light goes with us out into the world.